Far beyond the quiet blue world called Earth, in the center of the known galaxy, a massive station floated in space. It was called the Galactic Council Hall. For thousands of years, this was the place where the most powerful civilizations met to decide the fate of the stars. On this day, the hall was more crowded than ever before. Hundreds of alien species had gathered. Tall silver beings from the Orion systems, reptilian commanders from the Varkon Empire, insect-like strategists from the Zenthari Hive, and many others. Their ships filled the space around the station like a glowing swarm. But this meeting was different. There was tension in the air. Every screen in the council chamber showed the same image. A small blue planet. Earth. For centuries, the galaxy had watched humanity grow. At first, humans were nothing special. Just another young species slowly learning how to leave their home planet. But humans were different. They learned too fast. In only a few hundred years, they built powerful ships. They explored dangerous parts of space that older civilizations avoided. They fought wars, survived disasters, and kept moving forward. Many alien leaders found this worrying. One tall Varkon commander stepped forward and spoke in a deep, cold voice. Humans are unpredictable. They do not think like us. They take risks no other species would take. A Zenthari strategist clicked its sharp limbs together. And they expand quickly, it added. Their colonies grow every year. Soon they will control large parts of this sector. The chamber became quiet. Finally, the High Speaker of the Council rose from his seat. We have studied humanity for many cycles, he said calmly. If they continue growing like this, they may become the strongest power in the galaxy. That statement caused murmurs across the hall. Some species believed humans could become good allies. But many others were afraid. Fear can make powerful civilizations do terrible things. The High Speaker continued. We must act now, before it is too late. A giant star map appeared above the council floor. At its center was Earth and the human colonies around it. Then another image appeared. Thousands of warships. This will be the largest fleet ever assembled, the High Speaker announced. 9,900 warships from many civilizations. Gasps spread across the chamber. No planet had ever survived a fleet that large. The mission was simple. Destroy Earth. End humanity before they became too powerful. One by one, the alien leaders agreed. Some agreed because they feared humans. Others agreed because they wanted human territory. And some agreed simply because they did not want to oppose the rest of the galaxy. Within hours, the order was given. Across hundreds of star systems, shipyards came alive. Massive alien warships powered up their engines. Weapons were loaded. Fighter squadrons prepared for launch. Soon, the greatest fleet in galactic history began moving toward one destination. Earth. Days later, the fleet arrived at the edge of human space. Thousands of ships filled the darkness between the stars. From command bridges across the Armada, alien officers stared at their scanners. They expected human defense fleets. They expected battle stations. They expected resistance. But what they saw instead confused them. Earth was quiet. Too quiet. No patrol ships. No war fleets. No warning signals. Just a peaceful blue planet slowly turning in the light of its star. Some commanders began to laugh. Humans must have realized they cannot win, one officer said. Perhaps they have already surrendered, another suggested. The massive alien armada slowly moved closer to Earth. Everything looked calm. But then a junior sensor officer suddenly spoke. Commander. I am detecting a ship. The bridge became silent. Only one? The commander asked. Yes, the officer replied. One human vessel. A single ship floated far from Earth. Compared to the massive alien fleet, it looked small. Almost insignificant. But something about it was strange. The ship was not moving. It was not running. It was simply waiting. The alien commander frowned. "Open a communication channel," he ordered. Moments later, a signal came from the human ship. The entire fleet received the message. Just one short sentence appeared on every screen. "Turn back now. This is your only warning." For a moment, the alien bridge was silent. Then the commander laughed. "One ship, warning 9,900. The entire bridge burst into laughter. But far away, on the silent human vessel, its engines slowly began to glow. And deep inside the ship, something powerful was waking up. The alien commanders continued laughing for several seconds after the message ended. To them, the warning from the single human ship sounded foolish. One small vessel standing against the largest fleet in galactic history was not a threat. It was a joke. The commander of the Varkon flagship leaned back in his command chair and looked at the glowing image of the human ship on the main screen. "So this is humanity's defense," he said with amusement. "One lonely ship." Several officers on the bridge laughed. Another officer spoke. "Commander, should we destroy it before we move toward Earth?" The Varkon commander waved his claw lazily. "Yes. Remove the obstacle." Across the massive alien armada, weapon systems powered up. Hundreds of ships locked their targeting systems onto the single human vessel. Energy cannons glowed with dangerous light. Missile launchers opened. To the alien fleet, this was already over. The commander gave the order. "Fire." A storm of bright energy beams shot through space. Missiles followed behind them like glowing spears racing toward the human ship. On the alien bridge, the officers waited to see the ship explode. But the explosion never came. Instead, something strange happened. The beams slowed down. At first it was almost impossible to notice. But the sensors began showing strange readings. The missiles and energy blasts were moving slower and slower as they approached the human ship. Then they stopped completely. Frozen in space. The alien officers stared at their screens in shock. "Commander, our weapons have stopped," one officer said nervously. "That is impossible," the commander replied. But the sensors were clear. Hundreds of missiles and energy blasts were hanging motionless in the darkness of space, only a few kilometers from the human ship. Then the human vessel finally moved. Its engines glowed softly as the ship slowly drifted forward. The frozen missiles floated around it like harmless metal debris. The alien fleet watched in silence. The human ship sent another message. This time the voice was calm and clear. "You were warned." Suddenly the frozen missiles began moving again. But not toward the human ship. They turned around. Every missile, every energy blast, every weapon fired by the alien fleet reversed direction and flew back toward their own ships. The first explosions appeared instantly. Alien warships lit up with fire as their own weapons slammed into them. Shockwaves spread across the armada. Several ships were destroyed before the commanders even understood what had happened. Panic began spreading through the fleet. Shields up. Evade. Pull back. But it was too late. More missiles struck their targets. The human ship remained untouched. On the Varkon flagship, the commander slammed his claw onto the command console. "What kind of technology is this?" he shouted. The sensor officer's voice trembled. "Commander, the human ship is generating a massive gravity field. It is bending space around itself." The commander stared at the screen. Gravity manipulation was an experimental technology even for advanced civilizations. But the power required for something like this should be impossible for a single ship. And yet the human vessel was doing it easily. The human ship slowly turned to face the alien armada. Then its engines grew brighter. The space around the ship began to distort. Stars stretched and twisted as if reality itself was bending. The alien sensors suddenly screamed warnings. "Commander! Energy levels rising rapidly." "How much?" the commander demanded. The officer stared at the readings in disbelief. "Commander, it is off the scale." Before the commander could respond, the first alien ships began to disappear. Not explode. Disappear. Entire warships vanished from space like they had never existed. 1 second they were there. The next second they were gone. Confusion spread across the Armada. What is happening? Where are those ships? The sensor officer looked at the commander with fear. "They are not destroyed," he whispered. "They are gone." The human ship fired again. Another section of the alien fleet vanished instantly. Hundreds of ships erased in a silent wave. The commander finally understood the terrible truth. This was not a normal weapon. This was something far worse. And the battle had only just begun. Silence spread across the alien fleet. Thousands of warships filled the dark space near Earth, yet the commanders suddenly felt very small. Only minutes earlier they had laughed at the single human ship. Now hundreds of their vessels had vanished without a trace. On the Varkon flagship, alarms continued screaming across the bridge. Damage reports coming from multiple sectors, one officer shouted. 300 ships lost, no debris detected. The commander stared at the screen. His claws tightened around the command chair. "No debris?" he asked slowly. "Yes, Commander," the sensor officer replied nervously. "The ships did not explode. They simply disappeared." That answer made the bridge even more silent. Warships did not simply disappear. Something impossible was happening. The human ship remained in the center of space, floating calmly. Compared to the massive alien fleet, it still looked small. But now every alien officer understood that the ship was not weak. It was dangerous. Very dangerous. The commander quickly gave a new order. "All ships, spread formation. Increase distance from the human vessel." Across the Armada, thousands of alien ships moved apart, trying to escape the strange weapon. Fighters launched from carriers. Heavy cannons powered up again. If the weapon had a limit, they would find it. "We attack together," the commander said coldly. Overwhelm the human ship. Hundreds of warships turned their weapons toward the lone vessel. But before they could fire, something unexpected appeared on the sensors. "Commander, new contacts detected." The commander frowned. "How many?" The officer looked confused. "Small signals, dozens of them." Moments later, the sensors showed new ships appearing from the darkness of space. At first they looked like distant stars. Then their shapes became clear. Human warships. More than 50 of them. They had been hidden in the shadows near Earth the entire time. The alien fleet had never detected them. The Varkon commander stared at the screen in disbelief. "Humans, were waiting for us." The new ships moved slowly, forming a wide circle around the alien armada. Their designs were strange compared to alien vessels. Dark hulls. Sharp shapes. Engines glowing with a cold blue light. Then something even more terrifying happened. Each human ship activated the same strange energy field. Space around them began to bend. Stars stretched. Gravity waves spread through the battlefield. The alien sensors struggled to understand the readings. "Commander, every human ship has the same technology." That meant the first ship had never been alone. It had only been the beginning. The human fleet had been hiding, waiting for the alien armada to enter their trap. The commander suddenly felt a cold wave of fear. But pride would not allow him to retreat. "Fire all weapons," he shouted. Thousands of cannons fired at once. Space filled with light as the alien fleet unleashed its full power. But the human ships did not run. They moved calmly through space, bending gravity around themselves. Many alien attacks simply curved away from them. Some shots even turned back toward the alien fleet again. Then the human ships began to attack. But their attack was silent. No missiles. No lasers. Only waves of distorted space spreading through the alien formation. Where the waves touched, ships disappeared. Cruisers vanished. Destroyers vanished. Entire squadrons erased from existence. Panic spread rapidly. Alien captains began shouting across communication channels. What weapon is this? How do we fight it? No shields are working. The alien fleet had come expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had entered a nightmare. The human ships moved like hunters in the darkness, slowly closing their circle around the massive armada. More alien ships vanished every minute. Thousands of warships still remained. But for the first time in galactic history, the greatest fleet ever assembled was afraid of humanity. The battlefield near Earth had become a place of chaos. Thousands of alien warships filled the dark space between the stars, but their perfect formation was gone. Ships were moving in every direction. Some tried to attack. Others tried to escape. Panic was spreading through the entire armada. On the Varkon flagship, the commander watched the battle with growing fear. His fleet had come with confidence. 9,900 ships should have been unstoppable. But now the numbers on the screen were dropping quickly. Status report, he demanded. The sensor officer answered with a shaking voice. Commander, we have lost more than 2,000 ships. The commander slammed his claw against the control panel. Impossible. But the sensors did not lie. Every few seconds, another group of ships disappeared from the scanners. The human fleet moved through the battlefield like silent hunters. Their ships were not large compared to the alien warships, but their technology was terrifying. Every time they activated their strange gravity weapon, space twisted violently. Ships caught inside the distortion were crushed, torn apart, or simply erased from reality. Alien weapons were useless. Energy cannons bent away from their targets. Missiles lost their direction. Even powerful shield systems collapsed under the strange gravity waves. The alien fleet had never faced anything like this before. On communication channels across the armada, alien captains shouted in confusion. We cannot target them. Our weapons are failing. Retreat. We must retreat. Some ships began turning away from Earth, trying to escape the battlefield. But the human ships moved quickly to block their path. The circle around the alien fleet was closing. The Varkon commander watched the situation carefully. For the first time since the battle began, he realized the terrible truth. This had never been a normal battle. It was a trap. Humans had known the fleet was coming. They had waited patiently. And now the galaxy's largest armada was trapped inside their defense zone. Commander, the sensor officer shouted again. Another fleet of human ships detected. The commander stared at the screen. More signals were appearing near Earth. Dozens of additional human warships were leaving hidden bases and joining the battle. Humanity had far more ships than the alien commanders expected. The Varkon commander finally made a difficult decision. All ships, prepare for emergency retreat. Some officers looked shocked. Commander, retreat? But the commander knew the truth. If they stayed here, the entire fleet would be destroyed. We must leave now, he said. Before none of us escape. Across the battlefield, thousands of alien ships began trying to retreat toward open space. But the human fleet did not chase them in anger. Instead, they moved calmly, continuing their attacks. Gravity waves spread again through the alien formation. Hundreds of ships vanished instantly. More warships tried to jump into faster-than-light travel. Some succeeded. But many ships were caught before they could escape. The battle continued for hours. Slowly, the enormous alien armada began to disappear. Thousands of ships were gone. Entire civilizations had lost their fleets. By the end of the battle, the dark space near Earth was filled with silent wreckage and drifting debris. The alien armada that once filled the stars was almost completely destroyed. And only a handful of ships were still running. On the Varkon flagship, the sensor officer looked at the final numbers. His voice was quiet. "Commander, only 17 ships remain." The commander closed his eyes. 9,900 ships had entered human space. And now, only 17 were escaping. But the most terrifying part was still to come. Because the human fleet was not chasing them. It was letting them go. The battle was over. The dark space near Earth had become silent again. Only small pieces of wreckage floated where the greatest fleet in galactic history had once stood. Broken ships drifted slowly through the void, their lights dark and their engines dead. Far away from the battlefield, 17 alien ships were escaping at full speed. They did not speak. They did not celebrate. They were simply trying to survive. Inside the damaged Varkon flagship, the bridge was quiet. The proud officers who had once laughed at humanity were now silent. Some were injured. Some were staring at their screens in disbelief. The commander looked at the final battle report. Out of 9,900 warships, only 17 ships remained. It was not just a defeat. It was a disaster the galaxy had never seen before. The commander slowly turned toward the main screen, which showed Earth growing smaller as their ships escaped. "We underestimated them," he said quietly. No one answered. Everyone already knew the truth. Humanity had not been weak. Humanity had simply been waiting. Suddenly the communication officer looked up. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission." "From who?" the commander asked. The officer hesitated. "From Earth." The entire bridge turned toward the screen. Moments later, the image of a human appeared. The man looked calm and serious. Behind him was a command room filled with human officers quietly working. The human began speaking. His voice was steady. "You are leaving because we allowed you to leave. No anger. No shouting. Just calm words." The alien officers listened carefully. "For many years," the human continued, "we knew the galaxy feared us. We knew many civilizations believed humanity would become dangerous." The human paused for a moment. "But we never planned to attack the galaxy." The commander felt a strange feeling while listening to the message. It was not hatred. It was confidence. The human officer continued speaking. "When your fleet entered our system, we had two choices. We could destroy every ship. Or we could send a message." The human leaned slightly forward. This battle was the message. The alien officers remained silent. "Humanity does not seek war," the man said calmly. "But if the galaxy brings war to Earth." He paused. "The result will always be the same." The screen went dark. The message had ended. No threats. No insults. Just a warning. The Varkon commander slowly looked at the stars outside the ship. The galaxy had believed humans were young, weak, unprepared. But now he understood something terrifying. Humans were not afraid of the galaxy. And they had technology that no other civilization could fight. The surviving ships continued their long journey back to the Galactic Council. Days later, the 17 ships arrived. When the alien leaders saw the damaged survivors, the entire council hall fell silent. The fleet that had left with pride had returned broken. And its commanders brought a message the entire galaxy would remember. Humanity had been tested. And the galaxy had failed. From that day forward, a new rule quietly spread across the stars. No fleet would ever attack Earth again. Because everyone in the galaxy now knew the truth. If you fight humanity, you may never come back.